So today is day 23 of 44 days of transforming grief. My name is Andrea Hyland. I'm the founder of Heal My Voice. And 6 years ago, I hosted 44 radio shows over the holidays, 2010, where I spoke with 27 guests about their journey with transforming grief. And I shared tools and techniques and personal stories of my own on the other 17 shows. So today, the show that I'm posting, the link from 2010, was called The Loss of a Sibling. My guest was Sally Laux, Laux. I know it's a German pronunciation. We'll see if I got that right. Sally was one of 6 children, and throughout her life, from when she was in her 20s, she had 3 siblings who had things happen to them. 2 brothers who died, and 1 brother who was debilitated in a car accident and has brain trauma. And so there were 3 girls, 3 boys. 2 of the boys have died and 1 has brain trauma. Sally and I talked about the experiences that she had. First of all, her brother Brad was HIV positive in 1987, and she talked a little bit about that time period of when we were just beginning to hear about AIDS and learning that. And then he died in 1992. And then she had a brother, Steve, who died of basically what she called neglect. He suffered with addiction and alcoholism, but he really didn't take care of himself. Ultimately, he died of pneumonia and some heart trouble at the age of 49. And so, you know, if it's something that, there are a couple of reasons to listen to this radio show. Let me just share that. One, we talked about wake-up calls. When you have things happen in your life where there's a loss of some sort, it is the death of a marriage, the loss of a loved one, a change in your job or your lifestyle circumstances. Even when you have finished raising your children and they go off onto their own lives, all of these different things have to do with loss. And they're wake-up calls that allow us time to explore who we are more. So, you know, even something where when you get married, you begin to find the rhythm in your marriage, and parts of you, who you were when you were single, you might let go of. Or you are a mother and your life looked one way before parenthood and it looks another way. And so there are these different cycles of getting in touch with who you are, learning more about this identity. Sally talked about on this interview when her brother Brad died, they were Irish twins. They were 13 months apart, and she talked about how even in the family of 6, the 2 of them were like bookends, and how they depended on one another. And one of the things that she did was got really busy in her life. And it wasn't until 5 years after his death that she began to really connect with her grief. And the way that it showed up for her when she knew there was something that she had to do. You know, we might think of grief as sadness, that's what you would be feeling. Well, what she began to feel was irritability and anger and impatience with people. And so it's one of the ways that unresolved grief or unexplored grief will show up in your life. These other ways, you know, it's like other behaviors. When you don't feel the feelings of grief and allow that wake-up call, that wake-up to change the way that you're looking at life, something that you're thinking about in your life. It's an opportunity So grief and loss are opportunities for exploring something about yourself. And other than that, you're going to find that you have other emotions that get exhibited. And let's see, the other thing I wanted to share, yes, thank you, Jeannie. I just saw Jeannie Dougherty say sibling grief is intense and rarely discussed. That's so interesting because it's one of the things that I brought up on the show was we might push that aside, the impact of that. And not only sibling death, but realizing as you grow up that maybe you're not going to have a relationship with your siblings, or when your relationships change with your siblings over time. Maybe there's a period of time where you were close and then something shifts and you're living lives separately, which as human beings, we continue to evolve, and sometimes we're closer with people and other times we're separated. But there's also a point, because I know I have a number of people in my life who they will probably never have a relationship with their siblings. And there are layers of that and cycles to grieve, to really feel what those feelings are. But I wanted to talk about one more thing here today, because it came up on the show when Sally was talking about how it was 5 years later that she began to really grieve and realize that she was not as connected to her life as she wanted to be, as she could be. Like she was going through the motions of her life, but she wasn't feeling alive. And it can be something like, survivor's guilt, or feel like you're betraying the person because you get to have a longer life than they have. There's all kinds of things that we tell ourselves, and they can be very subtle and under the layer. But one of the things I want to describe is that we talk a lot about that first year of grieving and how those first holidays, you lose a loved one or your life changes dramatically, and all of a sudden the holidays are different. Thanksgiving's different. Christmas is different. Hanukkah, the New Year, the person's birthday, all of those things. That first year you go through those things. But my experience from personal and also what I've seen with others is it's the second year when you begin to really grieve another layer of that. There's almost like this feeling of, wow, they're really not coming back. Wow, it's their birthday again. They're really not here. And you're past the point of feeling numb, that numb feeling that you have in the first year of grieving, almost like sleepwalking. But now there's deeper loss, and there are loss of dreams. So you lose someone, and then they're not there in physical form. And there are other times where something is happening in your life where you postpone the grief until later. I had a situation where my son died, and then 2 weeks later I gave birth to my daughter. And although there was a level of sleepwalking, I also realized that I had to compartmentalize some of that grief. And some of it actually popped in 15 years after he died, where it wasn't a long period of time, but I had waves of just deep, raw grief. So be gentle with yourself. Be compassionate when grief is present. It's normal to grieve during the holidays, to remember people, to long for something that, if you may long to be with a parent who has died, and to know that you can create some rituals around that, but they're not going to be here in physical form. And so be gentle with yourself when it happens, and enjoy moments. Find moments where you're really enjoying the holidays. and you know, something special. And it can be something like you love eggnog, and go out and buy some eggnog and sit and drink that eggnog. You know, it's if you like to look at lights, you know, find a friend who wants to go hop in the car and drive around and look at Christmas lights, or do it by yourself and play Christmas music. Let yourself have a good cry, or feel the joy that is there for your own pleasure. All right, today, I feel like that's it for today. I'm going to post the link for the show. And if you're interested in signing up for the 30 days of writing in January, a way to feel and heal and express and connect with yourself and tune in and prepare for the new year, I will also post that link. I would love to have you join me. All right, see you tomorrow for day 24. Thanks for stopping by.